Now we're going to explore how to calculate the perimeter of a square using a formula. And we're going to start by deriving that formula or that rule ourselves first. So in one of the previous videos where you looked at examples of calculating perimeter, you saw that for squares, the sides were all equal to one another. So for example, let's say this is 8 centimeters, this was 8 centimeters, this was 8 centimeters, and this was 8 centimeters, right? Because a square has equal sides. To find the perimeter, what you did was you added those dimensions together. Well, this is repeated addition, and we know that repeated addition is the same thing as multiplication. So this is essentially 4 groups of 8. So it's 4 times 8, which is equal to 32 centimeters. So we're going to use that same logic to come up with a formula for the perimeter of a square. And instead of labeling one side as 8 or 10 or whatever, I'm going to label it as S for side. Okay, so this is S. Please don't confuse this for a 5. This is a letter S, like that. Now to calculate the perimeter of this square, I will say S plus S plus S plus S. I am adding all of these sides just like I added the 8 earlier. Well, similar to before, here I have 4 groups of S's, so it's the same thing as going 4 multiplied by S. And this is the formula for the perimeter of a square. If you know the side, you substitute it here, multiply by 4, and that gives you the perimeter. So let's have a look at the formula here. This is available for you in your formula sheet. P stands for perimeter, S stands for side. Now we're going to use this formula to calculate the perimeter of this square, and you'll notice that it's a lot more efficient when we do it using the formula. So the first thing that we do is we write our formula down because it tells us what to do. Perimeter equals 4 times S. We know that S is equal to 14.2 millimeters, so now we substitute. So 4 multiplied by 14.2, and we use our calculator to do this math. So 4 times 14.2, and that gives us 56.8, and I think it was millimeters. And this is the answer. So the next example I'm going to do is going to be a working backwards question, very similar to what we did with the perimeter of rectangles. In this case, we are given the perimeter of this square, and we are trying to find the length of the missing side. Keep in mind that whatever number we get here is going to be the same number for this side, and this side, because we're dealing with squares, right? So what we're going to do first is we're going to write our formula, right? So the perimeter is equal to 4 times side. Okay, we know what the perimeter is. The perimeter is 50, so I'm going to write 50 over here. The equal sign comes down, the 4 comes down, the S comes down. Okay, so now we have a one-step equation and one unknown. This is unknown. So all we have to do is separate the 4 from the S, and the 4 and the S are multiplied, and the inverse of that, the opposite of that, is dividing, and we divide by 4 because that's the number we want to get rid of. So here we're left with S, and then on the other side we divide 50 by 4, and that gives us 12.5. The units that we're using are meters, so this is 12.5 meters. That is the length of one side. Now, don't take my word for it, actually check your work. So if each side was 12.5, when you add them all up, you should get 50. So try that right now, and you should get 50 meters. So we know that we did our work correctly. Okay, so that's pretty much it for calculating the perimeter of a square using formulas. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do an extension. So I'm going to take what we learned about the perimeter of squares, and I'm going to extend it to other regular polygons. So we're going to talk about polygons in the next few modules, but for now, a regular polygon means any closed shape. So both of these shapes are closed, right? And they are made up of equal sides. Okay, and normally it's 3 or more sides. So a triangle is a polygon, a square is a polygon, a pentagon, a hexagon, an octagon, and so on. The term regular just means that all the sides are equal to each other and all the angles are equal to each other. Okay, so a square is an example of a regular polygon because it is a closed shape made up of 3 or more sides, and all the sides are equal. Okay, so how do we calculate the perimeter of a pentagon, a regular pentagon? So a pentagon is this shape right here. It's made up of 5 sides. Well, we're going to use the same logic that we use for squares. Normally, we would go 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 5 times. So that's 5 groups of 2. Or we can say 5 times the side, right? Here we have, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have an octagon. It's a regular octagon. So to find the perimeter of this octagon, we're going to add 4 8 times because we have 8 sides. Okay? Or I can say, okay, I have 8 groups of 4, so that's 8 times 4, or 8 times the number of sides. So what are we noticing here? For a square, the formula was 4 times side. For a pentagon, which is a 5-sided shape, it was 5 times s. For an octagon, that's an 8-sided shape, it was 8 times s. So basically, the conclusion is that we always multiply one known side by the number of sides. Okay, and the same goes for working backwards. If we know the perimeter of the entire shape and we just want one of them, well, we can take that perimeter and divide it by 8. Or here we take that perimeter and divide it by 5 because we have 5 sides. Okay, so that's it for the lesson on perimeter of a square and perimeter of polygons using formulas.